Audi has released an updated version of its Q2 compact SUV, but forget the regular models because what we're really interested in is this flagship version that's never been sold in Australia before. It's called the SQ2. If you don't have time to join us for the full video, you can take some shortcuts with the time codes over here. You've also got chapters on YouTube. But look, there are lots of interesting things about this SQ2, I promise. Audi says of Q2 buyers, typically a relatively young bunch, that 70% rate design as their primary buying factor. And I am a bit of a fan of the Q2 styling. Its design is a bit edgier, more adventurous than your average Audi design. The Q2 features a geometrically intense polygon theme, and that doesn't really change with the SQ2, probably a little bit more aggressive. So the octagonal single frame Audi grille comes with a polygon focused honeycomb style pattern in there. You've got your SQ2 badge right in there. Side air intakes, well, that's what my maths teacher would say is a convex polygon shape, very fancy. And even the headlights, they're angular too, and inside are Audi's fancy and very clever matrix LED headlights, and they're standard on the SQ2. Right, down the flanks, more polygon action going on. We've got this elongated hexagon here. Looks like someone's taken a massive chisel into the side of the car. Similar effect down the bottom here. At the back of the car, Audi calls this the C-pillar blade. Now, normally that comes in a contrast silver on the SQ2. Here we've got it in a no-cost option body colour, and I think that makes this look a bit more hatch-like, if not quite the same as an Audi S3. Now, if you want a bit more of an SUV look, you can actually get a contrast dark grey lower body section and matching wheel arches all along the bottom there, as well as this C-pillar section here. But you can only have that with two exterior colours, which is apple green and arrow grey. Got to admit, I'm a bit of a fan of the apple green with the contrast grey, but I don't mind this turbo blue either. One last touch for the exterior here. Now, Audi Australia really wanted to maximise the design factor of this car, so they've actually fitted 19-inch wheels as standard on SQ2s here, where out of the factory they're actually only on 18s. And we've got a V-style pattern for the rims here, but as another no-cost option, you can have a 19-inch wheel with a black rim and a 5-arm rotor design. And around at the back, your main differences to your regular Q2, apart from the obvious SQ2 badge there, you've got a bit of a different silver plastic trim along the lower bumper here, and of course, quad exhaust pipes. So anyone driving behind you will know that you're in a very sporty Audi. Auto tailgate is standard, so that's a good start. Audi says there's 405 litres of luggage capacity here. That's a bit more than an Audi S3, but it is less than a Mini Countryman JCW, 450 litres, or a BMW X2 M35i, 470 litres. They're both natural rivals for this car. Some practical touches, obvious one being this luggage net here. You've got a side storage net here, a couple of boot lights, a couple of integrated bag hooks. Now, on regular Q2 models, you can lower the boot floor, but you can't in the SQ2 because you've got the Bang & Olufsen audio system subwoofer underneath. But you can fit an average size pram in here, no problem. Not a set of golf clubs though, which will be disappointing for some prospective buyers. Solution to that, just drop one of the sides of the split fold seat backs. The SQ2 is a compact vehicle, just 4.2 metres in length, so it's actually a little bit shorter than the outgoing A3. If you want a more practical Audi performance SUV, you do want the RS Q3, though you've also got to spend another 25 grand or so on that car. So for legroom in the back, well, I'm 5'8", and you can see, even for me, it's quite snug. So you don't want a tall passenger in the back or a tall driver up front. But look, legroom, it's okay. Headroom, also okay. Bench, very comfortable. Got two USB ports down here, 12-volt socket. Got a couple of seat back pouches. No center armrest though, and therefore no cup holders. And I'd also say you've got no vents, and that's not ideal. And the plastics on the door panels are a bit hard and scratchy, which is not great for a 65 grand car. If it all looks a bit familiar up front, that's because the SQ2 and Q2 are based on the previous generation A3 rather than the new generation version due in late 2021. Still, Audi interiors do tend to date that bit better than BMW and Mercedes interiors, at least that's my view. You might disagree, let me know. And it's still sufficiently stylish in here, so that's good for those buyers that are really design focused. So you've got some nice turbine style vents here, 4 of them across the dash. Tactility, pretty good, very nice on the aircon controls here, not so great on the vent surrounds. You've got soft touch materials here, a microfiber panel on the doors here, but that's also what you get on the 40 TFSI model down below the SQ2. But plenty of specific features for the SQ2 interior, like this S-badged dimpled leather steering wheel, which feels really nice in the hands. You've got stainless steel pedals, black cloth headlining, and the super smooth fine Nappa leather sport seats, which come with an embossed S logo here. They're all in black with a bit of grey, but these are actually a no-cost option. The standard seats, which are also Nappa leather, come in a black and magma red leather, which may look a bit too OTT for some buyers. What else can I tell you about this interior? Ah, yes, another unique feature for SQ2, although an option on other Q2 models, is the illuminated inlays, which are a really nice touch and look particularly good at night time. And you can actually change the colours here. So at the moment we've got a red, for example, but you can have a yellow, a light blue, orange, purpley pink, or you can have a bright blue to match the turbo blue of our exterior paint. There's also a lot of other features. This is a very well equipped model, it's got to be said. We've also got heated front seats and a cranking 705 watt 14 speaker Bang & Olufsen audio. One of the upsides of this being an older generation Audi interior is that it's got an older version of Audi's MMI multimedia infotainment system, and you've got the rotary dial on the center console. Now for me, I still think this is the most intuitive way of manipulating infotainment interface when you're driving along, because look, both hands on the wheel, drop one down like this, and I want to go through the menu system, eyes on the road, click, click, I know where I'm going. Fantastic, nice and easy. So yes, you can see from the interface there that it is an older design, but it's still pretty intuitive. You know where you're going if you need the telephone or navigation system. With the map, you've got shortcut buttons down here with these very tactile toggles. Click up there, navigation, and you've got a good view of your maps here. And the great thing about the SQ2 is that it comes standard with virtual cockpit, Audi's fully digital display, which is still one of the best in the business. And one of the main reasons for that is that it's highly configurable. And so say if you don't want to have your map on the display there, you can select radio instead and you can choose your stations, but you can have your navigation ahead of you instead by clicking this button here, come across, and you can see we've now got the map taken up most of your display ahead of you. And there's also a specific display for the SQ2. So while virtual cockpit is available on the Q2 as an option, it's standard on the SQ2, and it has this display where you've got the rev counter right in the middle of the display, very Porsche-like, and suggests that the car is ready to get down to business. And on that subject, I think it's time to go for a drive. The SQ2 suspension follows convention for S-badged Audi models. It's lowered by 20 millimeters in this case. Stiffer dampers and springs. No adaptive suspension as you get in the RSQ3. We'll find out whether that's an issue or not. The ride, well, it is firm. So yeah, you can't dial it back to be a little bit softer. It is as you get it. But yes, while it is on the stiff side, it's actually not a bad ride. I think you can live with it every day. It certainly deals very well with potholes of varying depths, and there isn't the kind of excessive fidget that you used to get on Audi performance models of old. And the hope with that very determined vertical body control is that when you get to a twisty road, it will pay dividends. Unlike other SQ models, SQ5, SQ7, SQ8, there's no turbo diesel under the bonnet. This one is a turbocharged petrol 4-cylinder. It's the trusty EA888 that we've come to love and know in various states of tune, Golf GTI or Golf R and Audi S3 that are more similar to this SQ2. And it does remain a bit of a lovable engine, but get the most out of it. We are going to just come out of comfort mode, and we have to use the drive select button here, which again is not quite ideal because you've got to reach over for it while you're driving, and click down until you're now in dynamic. All right, that's better. And we'll even use the paddle shifts, which are standard. Oh, there we go. Gets nice and angry when you get stuck into the throttle pedal. Out of the hairpin. Not much going on with the exhaust though, in terms of blurts or pops or crackles. Yeah, it's just kind of a snarly engine, but yeah, you can still enjoy it. No manual gearbox. Of course, you're not going to get that offered, particularly in Australia. But you do get the 7-speed dual clutch auto, which, yes, around town they're not quite as smooth as a conventional torque converter auto, but when you're getting into the fast driving stuff, that's when dual clutch autos come into their own with their fast shifting action. Nice, here we go. You've got lots of lovely flexible torque. The 400 Newton meters coming in from 2,000 RPM to 5,200. But this is still an engine that you can rev out to its 6,500 red line, and it's still kind of worthwhile. The steering isn't particularly chatty, but it is direct and it is accurate. You also get a little bit of extra weighting in the dynamic mode, and it does just about avoid feeling artificial. It's natural enough, and it certainly gives you enough driver confidence to know that the SQ2 will go pretty much exactly where you point it. A positive for the SQ2's dynamics are that it is a compact car at 4.2 meters long and not that heavy, 1.5 tons odd, so it's a little bit smaller than the S3 and not much heavier. And you can feel that in the corners that this is a reasonably lightweight performance SUV or crossover. And it's actually got much more in common with a hatchback in the way that it drives around corners than it does an SUV, and certainly far less body lean than you'll get in an SQ5. It's not the most immersive driving experience, it's got to be said. You will find involvement in other places for similar money, but you know what, there is definitely something for keen drivers, because this can corner very rapidly indeed. You've got that torque body control, you've got the excellent traction from the Haldex all-wheel drive system, and you've got very grippy Bridgestone Terenza tyres, at least on our test car. So basically, the SQ2 is capable of some fairly daft cornering speeds. Oh yes. Natural rivals for the SQ2? Well, we've got the BMW X2 M35i and the Mini Countryman JCW, twins from the BMW group, and the most natural competitors in terms of pricing. They're both powered by the BMW group's most powerful 4-cylinder engine, 225 kilowatts, 450 Newton meters. But you could even go further up the field, and there's the Mercedes AMG GLA 35. There's the Jaguar E-Pace 300 Sport, and you could even consider the Hyundai Kona M, which is upcoming, though that is front-wheel drive, but not a lot slower than the SQ2. In the 0 to 100 sprint charts, the SQ2 is actually at the top of the table, or at least joint top table, with the X2 M35i, 4.9 seconds. That makes it a bit quicker than the Countryman JCW and the GLA 35 at 5.1. The Kona N is a 5.5, doesn't have the advantage of all-wheel drive, of course. And then the E-Pace 300 Sport, quite an expensive car and quite slow at 6.9 seconds. In the context of Audi's performance SUVs, of course the SQ2 is a bit further down the list, but it's not the slowest. The SQ5 TDI has that honour at 5.1 seconds. But let's look at another stat, bang for your buck. Well, the SQ2 is top of the list because you can pay as much as $508 per kilowatt if you're getting the SQ7 or SQ8. You can pay $306 per kilowatt if you're getting an RSQ3, but the SQ2, just $291 per kilowatt. Bargain! So the SQ2 is brimming with features and punchy performance. To a large extent, it's highly enjoyable to drive. If the driving experience just had a bit more of the edginess that you get with the crossover styling, it really would be quite something.